remember the moment Bryce Thompson fired me with absolute clarity. It was a gray Wednesday morning in October 2016. The kind where Seattle rain tapped a steady rhythm on the windows while I was buried in performance reports. My desk was a landscape of color-coded tabs and procurement charts, calm, methodical, under control. Then came the door slam. No knock, no warning, just Bryce, charging in like he owned gravity. His tailored suit was still damp from the drizzle, his face set in a scowl that looked more performative than sincere. Without a word, he hurled a thick folder across my desk. It hit the corner of my keyboard, scattering papers like shrapnel. "We need to talk." My chest clenched, but I kept my voice even. Composure had always been my sharpest blade. "Of course," I said, gesturing to the chair across from me. He didn't sit. Bryce never sat unless it gave him the upper hand. He stayed standing, looming, using height and silence like weapons. "The board's made a decision. We're restructuring leadership," he said, crisp, memorized. "We need people who inspire, who drive vision, not just manage spreadsheets." I blinked, trying to process. "You're firing me?" My tone stayed calm, not weak, just stunned. He gave a faint, condescending smile, that tight, practiced curl of the lip he wore like a badge. "Let's not make this emotional. You've done fine work, Callie, but leadership takes more than results. It takes presence, charisma, things you've struggled to demonstrate." No review, no mention of the $4 million my team had saved the company that quarter alone. Just his verdict, clean, cold, final. The moment burned into memory, the flicker of the overhead fluorescents, the artificial pine scent from Bryce's office air freshener, the quiet that followed his words. I could have broken, but I didn't. I met his eyes, voice steady. "I see. May I ask what specifically brought you to this conclusion?" He didn't hesitate. "You're efficient, but not inspiring." So that was it, not performance, not impact, just image, power, the mold I refused to shrink into. I was a 38-year-old woman who didn't play politics, who led without spectacle, and to Bryce, that made me expendable. But he had no idea what I truly held, not yet. "I understand," I said. He faltered, just slightly. I think he expected outrage, a scene, tears, maybe, something messy to justify the decision. But I'd spent years mastering stillness in rooms built for men like him. "You'll need to return your badge and laptop by the end of the day. Access ends at 5 p.m. HR will handle severance," he added, already halfway out the door. I stood, offered my hand. "Thank you, Bryce. I appreciate the clarity." He hesitated, shook it. "Good luck out there," he said, wearing the smugness of a man who thought he'd won. Then he left. I sat back down, slowly. My eyes drifted to the photo on my desk, my father, beaming as he cut the ribbon on Cascadia Logic's first office downtown, the company Bryce had just cast me out of. But my hands didn't shake, my breath stayed even. In fact, I felt something else entirely. Relief. Because no one in that building, not even Bryce, knew what I'd been preparing. 2 weeks ago, everything shifted, quietly, permanently. I'd waited for the right moment to act. I traced a finger along the frame and whispered, "You told me to wait, Dad, until the timing was right." And now, it was. But to understand what came next, to see why this mattered, you need to go back, to the beginning. To Daniel Prescott, my father, founder of Cascadia Logic, early 2000s, a leaky loft in Seattle's Capitol Hill, 3 engineers, second-hand servers, and an idea. He didn't just build a tech company, he built a philosophy. "Companies aren't made of code and cash," he used to say, "they're made of people, humans trying to build something that matters." I grew up in that belief, Saturday mornings tucked under a whiteboard with comic books while he drafted pitch decks. He let me run the slide clicker in meetings, always treated me like I belonged. "This," he'd say, gesturing to the humming server racks, "is where it all starts. Ideas, grit, trust." Then in 2011, he was gone, a sudden stroke on a morning jog. Just like that. I was 25, fresh out of grad school and stunned by grief. Cascadia Logic had lost its center, and I did the only thing that felt right, dove straight into the trenches. Dad had made me promise, "Earn your place, Callie, no shortcuts, know every inch of this company." So I did, customer ops, procurement, product. I loved the chaos, the velocity, the quiet wins only insiders ever notice, and all the while I waited. "Stick around," I kept telling myself. The real story hasn't even started. Then Bryce Thompson arrived. He swept in less than a year after Dad's funeral, all polished charisma and focus group polish. Stanford MBA, cufflinks worth my monthly rent, a handshake that lingered just long enough to feel engineered. The board saw a visionary who would modernize Cascadia logic. I saw a man addicted to power. He began carving away departments he didn't understand, replacing the veteran engineers who built our backbone with shinier resumes that had zero loyalty to the mission. Family culture evaporated. Meetings became his stage shows. He steamrolled conversations, hijacked ideas, dismissed anyone who wouldn't flatter him. I was simply a speed bump between him and center spotlight. Still, I stayed. I thought I could guard what was left of Dad's legacy. I led my team the way Dad taught me, no theatrics, just results. I pitched a hybrid AI integration that would slash costs 40%. Bryce called it premature. 1 week later he pitched the exact same plan to the board, my slides, his signature. Not an isolated theft. He sidelined anyone who didn't play court politics, especially women, introverts, the quiet experts who actually got things done. Yet my team and I delivered. We built an automation platform from scratch, surviving on late-night pizza and sheer will. It launched to rave reviews. Sales spiked. Tech blogs cheered. At the party, Bryce toasted, Bryce, not a nod to the devs or analysts who made it happen. I stood at the back, arms folded, smiling just a little, because I still had what he couldn't see, purpose, and allies. Morgan from accounting slipped me coffee with a wink. You're the real deal, Cal. Tom from DevOps gave silent nods whenever Bryce bulldozed my ideas. They saw me, even when he didn't. One midnight, Bryce paused in my doorway. Still here? He smirked. Dedication's sweet, but it doesn't win wars. I looked up, bleary-eyed but steady. Maybe not, I said, but it builds what outlasts them. He chuckled, fortune cookie nonsense to him, and swaggered off, convinced of his throne. He had no idea. Everything changed the morning I turned 30. Sunlight poured across the hardwood of my Capitol Hill apartment, rare in Seattle, rarer in my life. I never celebrated birthdays, too much to do. But this morning felt charged. At 10:03 a.m., my phone buzzed. Mr. Langston, our family's lawyer, never called casually. His voice was steady but formal. Callie, your father left something for you. You weren't to see it until today. An hour later I sat in his cedar-scented office. He slid a sealed envelope across the desk, crimson wax stamped with Dad's insignia. My pulse hammered. Everything so far had been prelude. I broke the seal slowly. Inside, a letter in my father's neat, deliberate handwriting, and behind it, a legal document. Callie, it began. If you're reading this, you've turned 30. That means you're ready. Never doubted you. Not for a second. I've watched you work twice as hard, get half the credit, and led with the kind of strength most people overlook. The company's changed since I left. I suspected there might come a time you'd need more than your desk to make things right, so I gave you something stronger. I gave you the company. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the second page. A trust agreement, clear, binding, shockingly real. 90% of Cascadia logic, held in my father's name, released to me on my 30th birthday. I stared at it, lips parted. Is this real? I whispered. Mr. Langston nodded gently. It's ironclad. Your father wanted you protected and empowered. The board doesn't know unless you tell them. I sat there, stunned. Adrenaline surged like a current I couldn't hold back. Why not sooner? I asked. He smiled faintly. Your father wanted you to see the company first, to learn who people really are, before you held the power to change anything. It hit like a punch to the chest. Every meeting I was talked over. Every stolen idea. Every dismissal before I'd even opened my mouth. Dad had seen it coming. He knew I'd need more than a title. I'd need leverage, and now, I had it. But I didn't charge in waving papers. That wasn't my way. I met with Langston again. Every legal angle, every clause. We can call a shareholder meeting, he said, with your shares. The agenda is yours. I nodded. Not yet, I'll tell you when. Let Bryce feel untouchable. Let him gloat one more time. 2 weeks later, he fired me. And unknowingly handed me the perfect opening. That afternoon, I sent the text. It's time. Prepare everything. Langston replied in seconds. Understood. Meeting scheduled. 5 business days. The day I left, I packed quietly. A ceramic mug from my team's first rollout. 3 notebooks packed with ideas Bryce never even glanced at. And a photo of Dad, still smiling at that ribbon-cutting ceremony. The office buzzed behind me. Side glances, whispered guesses. Did she fail? Did she step out of line? I stepped into the daylight and smiled. They thought this was the end. They were wrong. The next few days, I went underground. Met Langston at a quiet cafe in Belltown. He slid over the documents. You sure? He asked. This will be a boardroom grenade. I met his eyes. They pulled the pin when they fired me. I sat down with Caroline Yates, the trustee who'd managed my father's shares in silence. She passed me a folder, ownership records, performance reports. Bryce has hollowed this place out, she said. Morale's down, turnover's brutal, flat growth in a soaring industry. I nodded. Let the numbers speak for me. By Monday, rumors were wildfire. My phone lit up. Did you quit? HR is acting weird, are you okay? I didn't reply. Silence was my weapon now. And I was done playing small. That night, I stood before the mirror, slipping into a navy suit I'd bought years ago, but never felt ready to wear. It was crisp, clean, tailored for command. The kind of suit you wear when you're done asking permission. No script, just a few lines. The truth doesn't need rehearsal. Tuesday morning. I walked through the glass doors of Cascadia Logic. The receptionist blinked twice, but said nothing. Mr. Langston met me by the elevators. They're in there, he said. Bryce thinks it's a strategy session. I nodded, smoothed my lapel. The boardroom door clicked open. Heads turned. Bryce, mid-pitch, hand in one of his rehearsed gestures, froze. Callie, he barked, this is a closed session, board only. I placed my documents on the table and smiled. Exactly. I took the head seat. Silence cracked across the room. Bryce's brow furrowed. This is a board meeting, employees don't. I'm not here as an employee, I said, voice steady. I'm here as the majority shareholder. Chairs shifted. Mr. Hollis, my father's longtime colleague, adjusted his glasses and scanned the documents. Is this legitimate? It is. 90% of shares, transferred via trust on my 30th birthday, legal, notarized. Bryce turned red. You can't be serious. I am, and so was my father. I opened the second folder. As majority shareholder, I've called this meeting to review executive leadership, starting with the CEO. Bryce shot up. This is a coup, a personal vendetta. I didn't flinch. I'm not asking, I'm acting. I slid the report across the table. Morale, down 38%. Turnover, up 47%. 3 open discrimination complaints. Flat revenue, misused funds, inflated bonuses, misleading board updates. All of it under your watch. Bryce sputtered. You're twisting this. I don't need to twist, I said calmly. I have receipts. I leaned forward. You thought no one would stand up to you. That ends today. I pulled the final document. Effective immediately. I'm moving to remove Bryce Thompson as CEO. My 90% vote carries it. The secretary looked stunned. You don't need a second. Not with a majority. Mr. Hollis nodded. Motion stands. Bryce slammed the table, but he didn't argue. He knew. He stormed out. And for the first time, he didn't look powerful. Just small. I turned to the board. This company deserves better, so do its people. Mr. Hollis gave a faint smile. Welcome back, Callie. But I wasn't done. That Monday, I called an all-hands, no slides, no spin, just me. Some of you know me, some only know what you've been told. I'm here to restore trust. A few heads lifted. I was fired last week, told I wasn't what this company needed. I didn't argue, because leadership isn't about volume, it's about values. I promoted Maya from support to lead client experience. Rehired Kevin in engineering. Let go of managers who led through fear. Launched people first, a cultural reset rooted in transparency and recognition. Change was slow. Then it wasn't. One afternoon, I passed a whiteboard note near the kitchen. We came back. Not she won. We came back. A year later, I stood at the glass doors as CEO. Suit crisp, heart steady. The company was thriving. Strongest quarter in 5 years. Retention soaring. I kept Dad's photo behind my desk. We did it, I whispered to the skyline. This wasn't just a victory. It was home. If this story moved you, tap that like button. Share it with someone who needs hope. Subscribe for more. Because quiet strength always finds its voice.